They told us he was safe. But the night he came home, he took my little sister. And that's when the nightmare truly began. Before we dive into the story, please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more powerful stories. Thank you. I remember the exact date, March 9th. The day the door opened and everything in my world shifted. It was a cloudy morning. You know, the kind where the sky hangs low and everything feels a little too quiet, like the world's holding its breath. That morning, my mom was pacing. She had on that nervous smile she used whenever she was lying to herself, mostly. She kept glancing at the clock like it was ticking faster than usual. Me? I was standing by the window, arms crossed, watching the street. I hadn't even had breakfast. Couldn't eat. Not when he was coming home. My dad. After 20 years behind bars. I was only 4 when he got sent away. I didn't remember his voice. Didn't remember how he smelled. Didn't remember if he ever tucked me in or told me bedtime stories. All I knew were the headlines, the court records, the silence in my mother's voice whenever someone brought him up. But my little sister Emma. She was different. She was born years after he went away. She only knew what Mom told her, and let's be real, Mom sugarcoated everything. Told her, Daddy made some mistakes, like he forgot to pay the electric bill or something. Not that he robbed a store at gunpoint. Not that he was arrested with blood on his clothes, and not his own. Emma was 10 years old, with curly brown hair and the purest soul you've ever seen. She was the type of kid who cried if a butterfly got stuck in a spiderweb. She was also the only one genuinely excited about meeting him. Do you think he'll bring me something? She asked that morning, her eyes wide with hope. Like what? I don't know. Maybe a story? Or a necklace? Or one of those snow globes with the sparkles inside? I couldn't answer her. All I could think was, I hope he doesn't bring anything. I hope he just walks in, stays quiet, and doesn't ruin the peace we built without him. Then, we heard the car pull up. It was old, rusty, probably a hand-me-down from some halfway house. And when the door opened, it was like watching a ghost come to life. He stepped out wearing a wrinkled button-up and jeans that didn't quite fit. His hair was grayer than I expected. His skin was leathery, like someone who hadn't seen kindness or sunshine in a long time. But what hit me the hardest wasn't how he looked. It was how he looked at us. His eyes scanned the porch, paused on Emma. And lit up in a way I didn't like. Not warm. Not fatherly. More like possessive. Hungry. The way someone looks at something they've been promised but haven't touched in years. Then he turned to Mom. Marie, he said. She froze. No hug. No smile. Just a strained hey. They stood there for a second. Then, finally, she let him hug her, stiff, awkward, like 2 co-workers forced to do a trust fall. When he turned to me, his face dropped a little. Ethan, he said. All grown up, huh? I nodded. Didn't say anything. He didn't try to hug me. Instead, he dropped his duffel bag on the porch and crouched down to Emma's level. You must be the princess, he whispered. She giggled. I'm Emma. He smiled, but it wasn't just a smile. It was a smirk. The kind that twitched at the corners like he was holding something back. Something not good. I've been waiting a long time to meet you, Emma. She blushed, clueless. I clenched my fist. That night, the house felt smaller. He didn't bring much, but somehow, he took up too much space. His footsteps echoed too loud. His cough felt like it scraped against the walls. At dinner, he barely ate. Just watched Emma while she told him about school and her pet turtle and the painting she was working on. Every time she spoke, his eyes locked on her like she was the only thing in the room. I looked at Mom. She avoided my eyes. When dinner ended, he stood up and said, I'll take Emma to bed. Tell her a story. No, it's okay, I said quickly, almost too loud. I always do it. But Emma was already grabbing his hand. It's okay, Ethan. Just this once. I didn't sleep much that night. I stood outside her door for a long time. Listening. He was reading something, not a kid's story though. His voice was low, whispery. I couldn't catch the words, but it sounded wrong. Like chanting. Like prayer, but not the good kind. Eventually, the light turned off. I waited another 10 minutes before I tiptoed away. The next morning, Emma was fine. Smiling. Said she liked his stories. Said he told her secrets about the stars. I smiled back at her, but inside, everything in me screamed. Something was wrong. And he had only been home for 1 day. By the 3rd day, it wasn't just me who felt something was off. Even the house felt different. It was like it knew something dangerous had entered. My dad tried hard to play the part, the new and improved family man. He fixed a broken chair, Cooked breakfast once, burned it to hell, and asked us to call him Pops like he was trying to be cute. But it wasn't cute. It was like he was copying what a dad should look like, based on what he'd seen in movies or heard from other inmates. None of it felt natural. Especially not the way he was with Emma. He watched her. Constantly. His eyes followed her around the house like shadows on a wall. Always smiling, but never blinking. I'd catch him staring even when she wasn't talking, like he was just soaking her in, memorizing her every move. And the stories? He didn't stop at bedtime. He'd tell her strange tales during lunch. Weird stuff about ancient spirits, about the moon being alive, about doors in the woods that led to other places. He made them sound like fairy tales, but the way he told them? They weren't fun. They were unsettling. Emma loved it. "He's so cool, Ethan," she whispered to me one night. "He said I have a light inside me. That he can see it." That made my skin crawl. What kind of light? I don't know. Like something rare. Something that can lead people home. I didn't sleep that night either. The next morning, I asked Mom, "What do you know about the stuff he believes in?" She sighed. "When we were young, he used to be obsessed with spiritual books. Not religion, exactly. More like symbols. Occult junk. He used to draw strange things in his notebooks." "And you stayed with him?" I didn't know how far gone he was back then. Then he got arrested and I figured prison would break that stuff out of him. Did it? She didn't answer. She just rubbed her temples like she had a headache that had lasted 20 years. By day 5, Emma was sleepwalking. Something she hadn't done since she was 5 years old. I woke up around 2 a.m. and heard the front door creak. When I got up and looked down the hallway, I saw her. Barefoot. Eyes half closed. Whispering. She was heading toward the front door, mumbling something I couldn't understand. I rushed and gently grabbed her shoulders. "Emma? What are you doing?" Her eyes opened a little, but she didn't look at me. She looked through me. "He's calling me," she said. "He needs help finding the gate." I carried her back to bed and sat there until she fell asleep. The next morning, she didn't remember a thing. When I told Mom, she froze. Her coffee cup shook in her hand. "He said the same thing," she whispered. "Who?" "Your dad. Back when we were 19. He used to walk in his sleep too. Said he was searching for a gate. A spiritual door." I wanted to throw up. I confronted him that night. "Why is she sleepwalking?" He looked at me, calm as ever. "She's special." "Don't say that." "She is," he repeated. "You don't see it because your heart is closed. She's open. She's pure. The world hasn't ruined her yet." "You're scaring her." "No, Ethan. I'm waking her up." That was it. I told Mom we needed to do something. Send him away. Call someone. Anything. But she was scared. I could see it. "We can't prove anything," she whispered. "And if we kick him out, he might snap." So we waited. And we watched. And we hoped he'd just disappear. But that wasn't going to happen. Because 2 days later, he did something none of us could ever take back. It was Thursday evening. Ordinary as it gets, or at least, it started that way. Emma was in the living room, sitting cross-legged on the carpet with her sketchbook. She was drawing something new, something she refused to show me. "It's a surprise," she said, grinning. My dad sat on the couch behind her, just watching. I was in the kitchen making sandwiches. Grilled cheese, her favorite. 10 more minutes, Em, I called. "Okay," she replied, humming the same strange melody she'd been singing all week, something Dad had taught her. It didn't sound like a kid's lullaby. It sounded ancient. I went upstairs for a few minutes. My phone had buzzed, a message from work. I had just enough time to reply, check an email, and head back down. Maybe 7 minutes passed. When I came back down, silence. The sketchbook was still there. Open on the floor, her little crayons scattered around it. But Emma was gone. No shoes, no jacket. Her favorite stuffed cat gone too. "Emma," I called. My voice cracked. No answer. I checked the front door. It was open. Not wide open, just cracked. Like someone had quietly slipped out and left it behind. That's when I realized something else. Dad's boots were missing. So was his coat. And his duffel bag. I ran back inside. "Mom," I yelled. "Where's Emma?" She rushed out of the laundry room, confused. "Isn't she with you?" She was. 5 minutes ago. We tore through the house. Every room. The basement. The backyard. Nothing. Gone. Vanished. My heart was pounding. My brain wouldn't slow down. Everything felt unreal, like a dream that had twisted into a nightmare and wouldn't let go. Then it hit me, he took her. We called the police. Of course we did. But what happened next? Still burns. They didn't rush. They didn't panic. They didn't even send out a full unit. She might have gone voluntarily, the officer on the phone said. She's with her father, right? He's fresh out of prison, I shouted. He has no custody, no permission, and no right. But he's on the birth certificate, the officer added. There's no restraining order, no official documentation saying he's a danger. I nearly lost it. This isn't about paperwork, I snapped. This is about a little girl in danger. They filed a report. That's it. No Amber Alert. No search party. No urgency. Just paper and phone calls and silence. I wanted to break something. That night I couldn't sit still. I tore through the house again, hoping I'd miss something. A note. A clue. Anything. That's when I decided to go into his room. I'd never done that before. Mom had always told me to respect privacy. But this wasn't about respect anymore. This was about Emma. I opened his closet. Nothing but empty hangers and an old sweater that still smelled like cigarette. I checked under the bed. Nothing. Then I lifted the mattress and there it was. A small black leather notebook. Worn out. Pages yellowing. Some torn. I opened it slowly. And what I saw inside made my blood turn to ice. The first few pages were covered in drawings. Hand-sketched figures of a young girl with long, curly hair, Emma. In every sketch, she was standing alone in a forest. Surrounded by trees. Sometimes near a river. Sometimes beneath stars. One image had her standing in front of a massive door made of stone, with symbols carved all around it. Another showed her lying in a circle of candles. Beneath the drawings, he had written lines, messy, slanted handwriting. The same words, over and over. She is the light. She is the key. Through her, the gate opens. My hands were shaking. I flipped through more pages. Latin phrases. Occult symbols. Descriptions of rituals. There was a list of dates. And circled in red was today's date. At the very back of the notebook, a single piece of paper had been folded and tucked into the spine. I pulled it out. It was a map. A hand-drawn sketch of a cabin in the woods. Trees marked all around it. A trail. A stream. A circle with an X. And a note at the bottom. When the moon rises, the path will open. That was it. That was where he took her. He wasn't just running away with her. He was planning something. Something dark. Something that went way beyond just being a bad dad. That's when I stopped being scared. And I started getting angry. He took my sister. Now I was going to get her back. I didn't wait for the police. They weren't going to help. Not fast enough. Not in the way I needed. I had a notebook, a creepy sketch of a cabin, and a sick feeling that time was running out. So I packed a flashlight, my pocket knife, a phone charger, and a bottle of water. That's it. No fancy gear. Just whatever I could grab in 5 minutes. Where are you going? Mom asked as I rushed out. He left a map, I said. I'm following it. Her face drained of color. What if he hurts you? If I don't go now, he's going to hurt her. She didn't argue after that. The cabin wasn't close. The map led toward the edge of town, past the old train tracks and deep into the forest, the kind of place where GPS gives up and the road signs disappear. As I drove, everything blurred. I didn't even feel like I was steering anymore. My hands were locked to the wheel, my eyes glued ahead, but my mind was a mess of fear, rage, and panic. What was he planning? What did the gate mean? Was it just crazy talk? Or something worse? About an hour into the drive, the paved roads ended. The rest was gravel and dirt, full of potholes and overgrown weed. I had to park and walk the last 2 miles, through thick woods, tangled roots, and mosquitoes the size of my thumb. It was getting dark. The moon started rising, just like the notebook said. And then, I saw it. The cabin. Exactly like the sketch. It was falling apart. Wood rotting. Windows cracked. The porch tilted like it was sinking. But the door was new. Reinforced. Locked with chains and a heavy bolt. I crouched behind a tree and watched for movement. No sign of Dad. No sound at all, except for the occasional owl or crunch of leaves under my own boot. Then I heard something faint, a voice. Emma. She was inside. She was crying. I rushed to the door, kept low, and pressed my ear against the wood. Ethan, her voice quivered. I'm here, I whispered. Are you okay? No, she sobbed. He said. The ritual starts tonight. I felt my stomach twist. What ritual? He said I'm the key. He keeps saying I'm chosen. That I'll open the gate when the moon is high. Emma, listen to me, I'm getting you out of there. But I needed a plan. I circled the cabin, checking the windows. Most were boarded shut. But one in the back was loose, cracked just enough for me to pry it open. I squeezed through. And what I saw inside, I'll never forget. The cabin had been turned into some kind of twisted shrine. Candles burned in every corner. Symbols painted in black and red covered the walls, spirals, eyes, runes, some of them carved deep into the wood. Chains hung from the ceiling. Animal bones were scattered across the floor. And in the middle of it all was Emma, tied to a wooden chair. Eyes wide, tears streaking down her face. "Ethan," she screamed when she saw me. I ran over and started untying the rope. My hands were trembling so hard I could barely grip the knot. Then I heard it. Footstep. Behind me. I turned around and there he was. My dad. But not the man from a week ago. This version of him was something else entirely. He had smeared ash across his face. His shirt was torn. His eyes were wide, unblinking. Like he wasn't fully human anymore. "You shouldn't be here," he said, his voice low and empty. "You shouldn't have taken her," I shot back. "She's not yours to protect," he said. "She's the bridge. The vessel. She'll set us free. You're sick." He stepped closer. "You don't understand. Prison didn't break me. It awakened me. I saw things in the dark. They showed me the truth. Emma is the chosen one. Her light will open the gate." "What gate? There's no gate. You've lost your mind." He raised a knife. I grabbed a metal rod from the corner and pointed it at him. "You touch her, and I swear to God." "God," he laughed. "God isn't here." Then he lunged. We fought. Clumsy, violent, terrifying. He was stronger than me. Years of prison had built his body like a wall. But I had something he didn't: rage. I dodged his first swing and smashed the rod into his ribs. He grunted but didn't go down. We crashed into a table. Candles fell. Fire sparked across the floor. Smoke filled the room. Emma screamed. I grabbed the knife from his hand and flung it across the room. "You're done," I growled. "This ends now." Then, for the first time, I saw something in his eyes that I hadn't seen since he came home. Fear. He tried to crawl away as the fire grew. I grabbed Emma and ran for the window. We tumbled out, hitting the ground hard, coughing, gasping for air. Behind us, the cabin started to burn. The symbols on the walls melted. The candles popped. The whole place went up like a torch. My dad's screams echoed through the woods. Then, silence. We ran through the forest. I carried her half the way. Her arms wrapped around my neck. She kept whispering, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." It was the longest night of my life. But we made it out. Alive. By the time we stumbled out of the woods, the sky was bleeding light. Morning was creeping in, soft and cold. It should have felt like a relief. It didn't. Every step felt heavy. Like I was carrying more than just Emma on my back. I was carrying everything we'd just escaped, and everything we couldn't forget. We finally made it to a small gas station on the edge of the highway. The clerk took one look at us, dirt-stained, barefoot Emma, bruises on my arms, cuts on my face, and didn't even ask questions. He called 911. The police showed up 20 minutes later. This time, they did take us seriously. Maybe it was the way Emma clung to me. Maybe it was the blood on my shirt. Maybe it was the cloud of smoke still visible behind the treetops. Whatever it was, they listened. They took statements. They sent a team out to the cabin. And what they found, that changed everything. The cabin was real. It wasn't just some paranoid hallucination. And it wasn't just fire damage. Inside, they found things that couldn't be explained away by mental illness or bad parenting. Symbols carved into every surface, not random graffiti, but matched directly with occult texts from banned books. Remains of small animals, burnt, arranged in precise patterns. A journal, charred but partly intact, detailing his obsession with Emma and a ritual of ascension. And in the center of the floor, a massive blackened ring, drawn with what turned out to be dried blood. The police didn't talk about all of it publicly. But one of the officers, young guy, maybe 28, pulled me aside during the process. "You're lucky," he said quietly. "Really lucky. We've seen some weird stuff. But this is something else." I asked if my dad was dead. They couldn't confirm it. His body wasn't in the ashes. Just the knife. His clothes, his ring, all burnt to nothing. But no body. The fire had swallowed everything. Or, he'd escaped again. Emma was taken to the hospital. Physically, she was fine. But mentally? She was shaken. She didn't speak for 2 days. When she finally did, the first thing she said was, "He said he'd come back when the stars scream." What does that even mean? What does that even mean? We tried to get her therapy. Tried to get her to forget. But some things you don't just forget. She started drawing the symbols. Without looking at references. She didn't even remember learning them. I wish I could say it ended there. But the truth is, sometimes I catch her standing by the window at night, staring at the moon, humming that same strange tune he taught her. Over and over. The police kept the notebook. They called in some specialists, people who studied cults, symbols, weird religious history. They said parts of it matched stuff they'd seen in Central America. Others matched ancient Celtic rituals. None of it fit together logically. And Emma? Which made it worse. Because it meant he pieced it together himself. From everywhere. Like he had built his own religion. She was supposed to be his prophet. Mom tried to go back to normal life. It didn't work. She blamed herself for letting him in, for not trusting her gut, for ignoring the signs. We moved. Quietly. No announcements. No godbis. We even dyed Emma's hair. Just in case. New town. New names. But me? I never stopped watching the shadows. Because I know what I saw. What I fought. And I know. He's not gone. 2 weeks passed. Emma stopped talking again. Not completely. Just enough to scare us. She ate her meals, went to school, did her homework. But she moved like a ghost. Hollow. Quiet. Like something in her had gone missing, or something else had moved in. At night, I started hearing her whispering in her sleep. But it wasn't random words. It was Latin. I recorded one of the nights on my phone and played it back. It matched the chants written in Dad's notebook, word for word. I tried to tell myself it was trauma. A side effect, her brain repeating things she heard under stress. But then, things started happening around the house. Lights flickering. Objects moved when no one touched them. Drawings appearing on walls that no one remembered doing. Emma would wake up with mud on her feet. Leaves in her bed. Scratches on her arms. I stayed up every night trying to catch her in the act. Then one night, I did. It was 2:13 a.m. I was half asleep when I heard the front door creak. I rushed downstairs. There she was, Emma. Standing in the hallway. Eyes closed. Barefoot. Face pale. In her hands, she held a small black stone, round, smooth, shiny. I'd never seen it before. "Emma," I whispered. "What are you doing?" She didn't move. Then she spoke. Soft. Almost robotic. "He gave this to me. It keeps the door open." "What door?" She tilted her head slowly. "The one behind the stars." I took a step forward. "Give it to me." She clenched it tighter. "No. Emma, please." Dark. Empty. Wide. She smiled. She opened her eyes, and I swear to you, for just 1 second. They weren't hers. They were his. I grabbed the stone from her hands. It burned. Literally burned, like it had been sitting in a fire. She screamed and collapsed. I dropped the stone. It rolled across the floor and cracked in half. Inside was a tiny scrap of paper. On it were 3 words. "I am near." We left that night. Again. Packed bags. Drove across the state. Stayed in a hotel for a week before renting a new apartment with no windows on the ground floor. I tried to bury everything. I threw away the journal copies I made. Burned the stone halves. Blocked the officers who kept calling for more interviews. I just wanted peace. But it never really came. A month later, Emma had a nightmare so violent she punched a hole in her bedroom wall. We took her back to therapy. That's when the therapist pulled me aside and showed me something Emma had drawn. There's no way she remembered that much detail. She was barely conscious when I pulled her out. Unless. A perfect sketch of the cabin, the one that burned down. She even included the symbols on the wall. Unless someone had been showing her. Last week, she brought home a journal from school. She said it was from the library. But when I opened it, it was filled with sketches again. Not hers. Same symbols. Same chant written over and over. So now I sleep with one eye open. We moved again. 3rd town this year. But it doesn't matter. Because wherever we go, I see him. In reflections. In crowds. In dreams. And I know the truth. He didn't want to hurt her. Not in the way I thought. He wanted to use her. To open something. And I'm not sure if he succeeded or not. Because some nights, when the stars are bright and the wind is still, MMA sleepwalks again. "ND," she whispers, "he's here. Used to think monsters were just in movies. UT now? Now I know. Times they come wearing your last name. And D sometimes when they finally leave. T. Hey, take something with them. Nothing you don't get back. If this story moved you, please don't forget to give it a like. And if you love emotional, powerful stories like this one, please make sure to subscribe to the channel.